privilege to welcome our chief guest, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Our special guest, Shri P.P. Rao, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, Professor M.P. Singh, Chancellor, Central University of Haryana, and the authors of the book, Shri Salman Khurshid, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and Dr. Lukain Malik, Advocate, to this book release of Justice at Heart, the life journey of Justice Krishna Iyer.
Thank you, sir. Here we proceed towards the book release function. May I request our chief guest, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, to kindly release the book.
Why do you really write books about Krishna? Why? While driving, I was thinking, why this Salman Khurshid, Mr. Lukain Malik, all write books about Krishna Iyer and they talk about everyone. I'm not talking about judgments now. I'll come to it. You see, while I was in class 7, a poem was taught, Three Old Men. A man goes to the first old man, asks him, "Yes, sir, what have you done that you have lived so long?" He says, "I don't know. I led my life. You ask my father." "Oh, you have a father?" "Yes. He's sitting in the other room." So he goes to him. "Sir, what have you done that you have lived so long?" He said, "I listened to my father." "You also have a father?" "Yes, he's there." Then he went. The question the man asked, "Do you have a father?" He said, "No, I have no father, but yes, pose your question." Now, what have you done to live long? What have you done? Just converse the question. What have you done to be remembered? He said, "Till today, I indulge in work. That work, karma, that matters to humanity." Miss Justice Krishna Iyer, till he was 99 plus, he was still devoting to writing, speaking about the humanness. And that is why people remember and write about him.
My Lord Justice Mishra, our chief guest this afternoon, and I need hardly dwell on that remarkable lecture, impromptu lecture that we've just heard, and very distinguished colleagues here. But we are very honored that former Chief Justice Ahmadi Saab is here, and also two important faces of modern India, governors of Karnataka, Chaturvedi Saab, and also many ways my mentor and former law minister and governor, both are all here. And I think that this is an occasion on which we savor what has just fallen from Justice Mishra. I'm not sure whether he realizes why the authors were particularly keen that we have him here today, because there are many ways of judging. As the generation of judges pass, there are many ways of judging who will take whose place, who would be Chief Justice in the future, who would be the leader in a particular strong flank of the court. And scholars spend a lot of time discussing how the court has taken a particular direction at certain times, how the court has moved from the left to the right and for the right to the left, and how the court is center or not. But I think on one particular parameter on which I doubt if there will be any question, that the successor to Justice Krishna Iyer on the present Supreme Court over the years, in terms of ability to play with language, coin language, and to use language, to marshal language in the advent of law, it will have to be Justice Mishra and nobody else. I recall, and those of you who haven't read a masterpiece that came on defamation. I would advise you to read it. I'm reminded of the words that were spoken by none other than President John Kennedy about Winston Churchill. At the funeral of Winston Churchill, when President Kennedy said he was a man who mobilized the English language and sent it into battle. Now, if I just take that inspiration and say, here we have a judge who's mobilized the English language for service of law in our country in our times, it would not be an exaggeration. I was looking at, and I thought to make the evening a little bit lighter, make my intervention short. Since Justice Mishra had mentioned Maruram, and I was looking at Maruram once again, and I thought there was this beautiful line that was from Russell that was quoted by Justice Krishna Iyer, a beautiful little short passage, which is a reminder for us in our times when debates are becoming more and more complex and difficult in modern times in our country. What did Burton Russell say that was quoted by Krishna Iyer? And I quote, "The essence of the liberal outlook lies not in what opinions are held, but in how they are held. Instead of being held dogmatically, they are held tentatively and with a consciousness that new evidence may at any moment lead to their abandonment. This is the way opinions are held in science as opposed to the way in which they are held in theology." And as in times of Krishna Iyer, in our own times, there will be a constant tussle between science and theology. The remarkable thing that Justice Krishna had in his life was that he combined his inclination towards a left liberal polity with an extremely deep sense of spirituality. And I have some personal experience of how his spirituality, in a sense, moderated and in a sense transformed the way he looked at the world. And his amazing experience, afterlife experience that he often described to us about his ability to sense and communicate with the departed soul of his lady wife. Krishna Iyer Justice Krishna Iyer was, for me, left a remarkable, interesting experience in my life. When he visited as a student, I received him in Oxford. He and Justice Bhagwati, we received him in Oxford, and we had the opportunity to get them face to face with the great Professor Ronald Dworkin on the very idea of what is law and what are rights in law. But then from there, from this remarkable exposition on the two sides, he then took me to a place which expanded my understanding of what he saw the world as. And that was in a place called Mentmore Towers, where there was what was called the world government of the age of consciousness. And that was Mentmore Towers was headed by this great saint who had set together a government. And my first experience of sitting with a government was indeed with a government of the age of enlightenment. And I had this masterly experience of turning left to someone to ask what he was. And he said, "I am the minister for natural justice." And it had to be natural justice with spirituality. Then I turned to the right and I asked, "And what about you, sir?" And he said, "I'm the minister for all possibilities." And I thought that that's one portfolio that we should have in India from sometimes, where complexities require that there are no easy answers. But if you had a minister for all possibilities, and equally perhaps a judicial office of all possibilities, we may find some solutions. Thank you very much, Justice Mishra, for being here and all these distinguished people. I think for the young generation who's here in large numbers, don't mind my saying this, but you will perhaps, they've not seen Krishna Iyer, but they would have read it. But if they think that you are like Krishna Iyer, it would not be a mistake. Thank you very much.
Justice at Heart, Life's Journey of Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer by Shri Salman Khurshid and Lokendra Malik, published by Eastern Book Company, is a remarkable book in a number of ways by the two authors and the publishers. While Dr. Malik has earned a name for having published several volumes on legal and constitutional issues, including legal education, for quite some time, he has now been associated by senior advocate and former Union Minister Shri Salman Khurshid to begin with for some sort of biographical works on legal luminaries, of which the present work on Justice Krishna Iyer is the first, while others are in pipeline. The Eastern Book Company, which has earned a name for itself as the leading law publishers in the country, seems to have also joined them in the promotion of rule of law and constitutionalism in our society. It has already published another book by Dr. Malik and Shabnam Anjum on former President and educationist Dr. Zakir Hussain under the title Philosopher of Raisina in the best traditions of publications internationally.
Because there is so much to speak about this V.R. Krishna Iyer, particularly for a man who has moved with him, who addressed him in the court, and who interacted with him outside the court. And even after the retirement, till the last stages of his life, we have been in touch with one another, and he was consistently affectionate. I cannot tell you how many hearts he must have touched during the course of his public life. And he was, even after retirement, rarely he had any rest. So many people used to go to him with requests, with their grievances, with their tales of suffering and sorrow, and he would readily dash off letters to the concerned officials, ministers, even sometimes to the members of other wings of the state, and to drawing their attention to the particular grievance of a citizen. People's suffering was something which touched him a great deal. He was in the Supreme Court for about 7 years, but their 7 years I consider are the golden years of the court. One great quality of him was this: when he was appointed amidst a controversy. There was a section of the Bombay Bar which opposed his appointment. They all thought, having been a member of the communist government in Kerala, the first ever communist government in the country, and he was totally red, and he would not be able to do justice. But after he assumed office, the same critics, they turned his admirers. And his appointment came at a historic time in the history of the Supreme Court.
My Lord, Honorable Dr. Justice Deepak Mishra, Judge Supreme Court of India, our distinguished chief guest. My mentor, respected Shri P.P. Rao, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India. My respected teacher, Professor Dr. M.P. Singh, Chancellor, Central University of Haryana. My esteemed senior, Sri Salman Khurshid, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India and former Union Minister of Law and Justice. Respected Shri Surendra Malik, my friend Shri Shumit Malik, my guardian, respected Shri T.N. Chaturvedi ji, former Governor of Karnataka, respected former Chief Justice Shri A.M. Hamdi Sahab, respected Shri H.R. Bhardwaj, former Governor of Karnataka, distinguished guests, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for us, me and my esteemed senior, to present this volume in honor and memory of a great judge with whom I met only once when I approached him in connection with my LLD interview. He had come to Delhi. He was staying at Kerala House and I interviewed him. When I asked him about the constitutional status of the President of India, then he said that my answer is in my judgment of Samsher Singh case.